Hey, welcome to the Tulsa World Scene weekly podcast. The Scene is our entertainment section. I'm Jimmy Trammell. I'm joined by James Watts. James handles fine arts for us and also reviews restaurants and handles food. And I thought we would make this a special episode, not like a special episode of, Blossom or Saved by the Bell or something else.
Yeah, we're not in a position where we can, hug and cry.
Correct. This is a special episode because I am curious about not how the sausage is made, but how the sausage is eaten. With James being a restaurant critic, restaurant reviewer, there are things I want to know about his job. And I'll just fire away at you, James, if you're ready for this.
Sure, why not?
Okay.
All I can do is tell the truth.
When you go to a restaurant to review it, do you prefer to alert these people that, hey, I'm the restaurant reviewer and I'm in the house? Or do you want to go in completely under the radar, incognito, so you don't get any special favors or anything?
No, I personally prefer to go in without announcing myself, and I'm not, and that's remarkably easy to do. There's maybe been two times when I have when I got the feeling or was told that they knew who I was and what I was doing there. For the most part, people that run restaurants, especially if they're local mom and pop type of things, they are way more concerned about all of the many things that they have to get done just to serve their customers, that they're not paying any attention to who's going to be writing up something. So no, I'm my late wife, I did this once while before she passed away. I took over for Scott Cherry for about a couple of months. He was out with had to have surgery done and was out for about 2 months, and she was very proud of the fact that that this is what I did now, and so she liked to tell people, and that was a little bit embarrassing, but she didn't get the chance to show off much.
She literally got to have her cake and eat it too.
Exactly. So, but no, for the most part, you don't want because you want to know what it's like for the average person coming in off the street. If I have a feeling that if you are known, if they know that the critic or whatever is coming, they're going to want to put on their best, bib and tucker, and that's understandable completely. But it's not really fair to the reader, because that means I may be getting a higher level of service than the average person could expect. So I go in there, under the radar, and we go from there.
Yeah, or a bigger serving or something. You never know.
Or a smaller one.
Or a smaller one. It's interesting you gave that answer, because I feel like if this was an episode of Three's Company and they were reviewing Jack's Bistro, the guy would announce himself as "I'm the critic," and he would walk in and have whatever Jack Tripper made that day, and there'd be a calamity. But
well, that's that's the popular conception in anytime you see, quote, a critic portrayed in a film or a TV show or something, they're often flamboyant and usually have some kind of an English accent of some sort, and want to make demands and be fussed over, and that's as far from the truth as it is, certainly in my case, as can be imagined.
The English thing is hilarious because who has less impressive food than the English?
Well, no, that's not entirely. There was a time when that was true.
Okay.
I remember there's a famous quote by Somerset Maugham that he said that it is possible to eat well in England 4 times as long as you have breakfast 4 times a day. Um, and I kind of agree with that. But now, there's a whole lot of um, very creative, very high-end dining going on in England, and there's a lot of basic um, good family cooking and that's the same is true as in the United States. We've got really high, haute cuisine where maybe not here in Tulsa, but there are places, where they just these hugely elaborate things and it comes down to one tiny little spot on a plate. But that doesn't mean that, a good chicken fried steak is not a welcome
Sure.
thing to have.
So you go into a restaurant and you can't just go and have one thing because then you're not available to give the big picture of a restaurant and what's on the menu. I'm assuming you have to order multiple items, try a little of each, or if you're overachieving, finish every plate. And maybe if you're incognito, they say, why in the heck is this guy ordering 7 plates of food? But typically, how many items do you order when you go review a restaurant?
Well, again, the thing about the job is it's not about eating, it's about tasting.
Okay.
If I go by myself, I usually will go to a place at least twice and try to order as much, as wide a range of items as possible to get an idea of how they might deal with beef or chicken or seafood or vegetables or and it always depends on what like there are a whole lot of Mexican restaurants or Mexican inspired restaurants, however you want to call it, in town. And the menus are often, quite a bit the same. They have their own maybe
Sure.
little variations, but for the most part, the menus are based. So in a situation like that, you'd say, okay, an enchilada, you try that, you try the, you just try to get as broad a spectrum as you can. When I go with other people, I say, okay, you all order, what you want, order 3 different things or however many, say there's a party of 4. All you order 3 different things, and then I'll order a 4th thing that's all different. And I'll get a sample of all of their
Sure.
dishes and go from there. But it's not about eating everything that's put in front of you in order to, it's tasting everything that's in front of you. So
Do you ever take recommendations from the restaurant and just say, bring me the best thing on the menu? What do you make the best?
I haven't done that. We do that when we do the photo shoot. We say we let the restaurant owner pick what dishes they want to be photographed. And we say, pick what you think, represents the best of what you do. And 75% of the time I may have already ordered that. So that's a good thing. The only time I'll do that is like if for example, this year's best restaurant of the year was Freya Nordic Kitchen. One of the dishes that I had, and which I would recommend, are the elk chops. I have never had elk before in any form. And so they asked me, how do you want it cooked? I said, however the chef thinks is best. So they came out, I would say they were on the rare side of medium rare, and they were delicious, so something like that, if there's a bizarre choice or something like that, I'll say, well, what do you recommend? And sometimes, we've asked the waiters, they've mentioned something. I said, well, what would you suggest as a side, and
Sure.
followed that. But not often. Usually I always, if possible, I try to check the menu out before I go, so I have an idea of kind of what I'm looking to try.
To me, you have to walk a very precarious tightrope, and that you owe the truth to the readers. The truth is undefeated, so you give the readers the truth. But you also, if you don't like a place, you don't want to destroy someone's livelihood. It's their business. So how do you walk the tightrope?
There has been, in the short time that I've done this, 2 places where I've gone to where I've walked out going, that was one of the worst things I've ever had in my life. And I've not reviewed them. I didn't write about them at all.
You just didn't. I think that's the way to go.
Yeah.
Rather than embarrass them, you just write about something else.
Exactly. And that's something that goes back to the philosophy that the person who started this job, Suzanne Holloway, said, that her, if something was bad, she wasn't going to write about it. She said even at that time, when the restaurant landscape of Tulsa was a bit more sparse, I remember her reviewing the Wendy's the Wendy's hamburger chain when one opened. I mean,
Yeah.
But even then, she said, there was enough places for her to visit that she'd rather point people to things that are good than lambaste somebody for something that's bad. And unfortunately, I mean, there are all sorts of avenues by which people who want to take umbrage and lash out for, I don't know, waiters not filling up their water fast enough, or
Sure.
There's plenty of ways where they can let those opinions out, and that's not, it's there's no denying the fact that reading a very well written negative review can be a lot of fun. I mean, in a sick kind of Schadenfreude sort of way.
Yeah.
But like you said, this is people's livelihoods, and if they've made a terrible choice, it's really not my place to shut them down. But
justice will be served along with bad food.
And not that I feel that I have any power to shut somebody down, or even boost somebody up. I'm just reporting what I have experienced, and let people decide for themselves.
How do you choose what to review? I mean, there's obviously a jillion restaurants in Tulsa.
Yeah,
and they could be,
and the surrounding areas.
I assume you choose new places, but occasionally you revisit places that have been around for a while.
Yeah, we try to focus on stuff that is recently opened, or that has been open for a while, but we've just not gotten around to reviewing it yet. But yeah, it's there have been times when I've restaurants that I've said, okay, I need to go review this. I need to go review this. By the time I get there, they've closed. That's happened a time or two. But it really is just, what's opening, what looks interesting. Like I said, there's a whole lot of Mexican restaurants that open, and you want to break it up with some variety. I mean, I could probably write 6 consecutive stories or reviews of newly opened Mexican restaurants. I can think of 5 right now that have opened in the last few months that I have not had a chance to get to. But I don't want to, but we had a former photographer who was doing one of the shoots and says, man, I've been shooting a lot of tacos recently. So, you try to break it up and give some variety. But yeah, you're right. There are all sorts of places opening up. There's all kinds and new stuff opening all the time. A lot of our major suburbs have some really interesting places that I just need to get to. But there's one of me, and unfortunately I have to do other things besides eating for a living. So it's trying to just cram everything all in as we can.
Okay, we all love to eat. So when something you love is also your work, it's a good thing, but it's also a bad thing, and that something you love is your work. It goes both ways. So you don't want your fun to feel like work. Mm-hmm. So do you eat out so much that in your spare time you're thinking, you know what, a meal at home sounds really good, and I don't want to go out for dinner?
Oh yeah, I mean that happens a lot. But I don't mind going out to eat. I never have. And it doesn't, I think because it's work in a sense, well, not in a very real sense, it is work. It's different than, you're going out with a purpose, rather than you're just going to go out and have a meal. You're there to do something more than just eat. So, but yeah, there are times when, yeah, I'm just going to stay in and, maybe even just order a pizza and have it delivered and that kind of a thing. And just,
Is there something about the art of reviewing restaurants that needs to be said, but I did not ask about?
Oh boy. I don't know. I'm sure that there might be some people that have other questions, but no, the only, it's I don't really know that I have anything that I can add. You just try to be fair and honest about, what's in front of you. And then that's anything you review. I mean, you have to review concerts and TV shows and movies, and the thing you want to be, fair and honest also. Credit where it's due, and chastisement where it's due. And you just can't think more highly of yourself than you ought, I guess is the best way to put it. So.
Well, for dessert, how about we tell people what we've got coming up in the Tulsa World this weekend?
Okay. Well, what I've got coming up, Theater Tulsa is going to be putting on the musical 1776, which is about the Continental Congress trying to decide whether they're going to, sign the Declaration of Independence and break away from Britain. And they're doing it with an all-female cast to sort of make people see these characters as not just the faces engraved on your dollar bills and in the pages of history books and museums, but see them as people and all of their contradictions and issues. And that'll be opening January 13, runs through the end of the month at the PAC.
Okay.
How about you?
On Friday, a Tulsa music artist, Charlie Redd, on Saturday, a Tulsa music artist, Charlie Redd, is going to have a birthday bash and a video premiere for his new song, Tulsa Hills. And it's basically a love letter to Tulsa. And there's about 130 Tulsa visuals in the video. It's an animated video, kind of Sesame Street style almost. It's got that vibe. And it's a mix of some live action and some animation. But it's so fun just to watch this video and try to see how many different Tulsa things you can spot in the video. It's premiering Saturday at Maggie's Music Box in Jinx.
Right.
And we will have a story about this on Friday. Sunday, I expect to have a story about the season finale of Tulsa King. And I'm working on that now, so we'll see how that goes. It's gotten quite interesting for Dwight, the General Manfredi in Tulsa, Oklahoma, as he combats not only the mob back home, but the ATF in Tulsa and a biker gang that wants to push him out of the picture. So lots of forces combining on Sly Stallone's head as he wraps up his stay in Tulsa.
Well, do you think it should be probably renamed Oklahoma City King because of where? Yeah, I've watched a couple of episodes, and it always jars you out. If you're from Tulsa, it just jars you when you see all these, obviously Oklahoma City vistas in this show.
It's my least favorite thing about the series is that Tulsa and Oklahoma City they're not identical twins at all. They're fraternal twins. They look very much different. And, it's hard to see Oklahoma City and grasp that as Tulsa because it's just not. And there's even like a artificial front for the Mayo Hotel sometimes when he walks out, and there's a vacant lot across the street. And it's like, no, that's really not how it is. But I do enjoy the series. I hats off to the storytellers because I want to see what happens to these people.
All right. Well, we also want to send our best wishes to our colleague, Grace Wood, who is dealing with illness, which is why she wasn't able to be a part of this. But hopefully she'll be able to join us next week. And we hope that you'll be able to join us when we return for the Tulsa World Scene podcast. And remember, you can pick up the Tulsa World at fine news sellers everywhere and online at tulsaworld.com. Well, Jimmy, thank you for a gentle interrogation, and we will hope you all got something from it, and we will gladly see you later.
Behave.